Emily had always been different, though not in a way that the world considered admirable. From the moment she stepped into school, she was branded as the odd one out. Her classmates mocked her for being too quiet. Teachers dismissed her for being too distracted, and even her relatives compared her unfavorably to her cousins, who seemed smarter, prettier, and more successful. By the time Emily was 16, the label of useless had already stuck to her name. Every mistake she made, no matter how small, was exaggerated and turned into another reason for people to ridicule her. When she tripped in the hallway carrying books, they didn't just laugh at the fall. They whispered, "That's Emily. She can't even walk properly." When she once forgot a homework assignment, it wasn't just a mistake. It was proof to them that she would never achieve anything meaningful. Her parents weren't cruel, but they weren't supportive either. Her mother would sigh and say, "Emily, why can't you be more like your cousin Sarah? She's always top of her class." Her father, though less harsh, often muttered under his breath, "I don't know what will become of you." These words stung Emily more deeply than any insult at school, because they came from the people who were supposed to believe in her, no matter what. By the time she graduated high school, Emily had no scholarship offers, no college plans, and no clear path. The only job she could find was at a small-town diner, working long shifts waiting tables. The diner was owned by Mr. Turner, a sharp-tongued, bitter man in his 50s, who seemed to take pleasure in belittling his staff. To him, Emily was an easy target. One evening, when Emily accidentally spilled coffee on a customer's sleeve, Turner barked across the diner, "You're hopeless. Emily, you'll never be more than a useless waitress." The words echoed in the room, and laughter erupted from a group of regular customers who found Turner's insults entertaining. Emily's cheeks burned with humiliation. Her eyes stung with tears, but she forced herself to smile and continue working. She had learned long ago that crying in front of others only gave them more ammunition. That night, when she returned to her small room at the edge of town, Emily lay awake staring at the ceiling. The insults replayed in her mind like a broken record. She felt crushed, powerless, and invisible. But somewhere beneath all the pain, a fire flickered. She remembered every cruel laugh, every dismissive word, every sigh of disappointment. And then, for the first time, she whispered to herself, "One day I will prove them all wrong. One day they will regret every word." Emily began to notice something about herself. While she may not have been the smartest in school or the most confident in public, she possessed a quiet strength. She was observant, patient, and resilient. At the diner, she watched how Turner ran his business. The way he managed inventory, handled customers, and balanced finances. She noticed his mistakes too. The way he ignored customer complaints, treated staff poorly, and wasted money on unnecessary expenses. Slowly, without realizing it, Emily was studying business by simply paying attention. But the world wasn't kind enough to give her time. Bills piled up, rent was due, her old car broke down, and Turner only grew crueler, constantly reminding her that she was replaceable. One particularly harsh night, after being scolded for a mistake she hadn't even made, Emily reached her breaking point. She went home and opened her old battered notebook. On the first page, she wrote in bold letters, "My plan to change my life." She didn't know exactly how yet, but she knew she had to escape the cycle of humiliation. She started researching business ideas on the library computer during her breaks. She read books about successful entrepreneurs who had started with nothing. She studied customer service techniques, money management strategies, and even marketing basics. Every night, she scribbled notes into her notebook, sketching out dreams that felt impossible, but kept her alive. One night, while walking home from work, she passed by a closed bakery with a Felice sign in the window. She stopped in her tracks. The bakery had been shut for months after its owners retired, But Emily remembered how popular it used to be. The thought hit her like lightning. What if I opened my own place one day? She laughed at herself immediately. She had no money, no investors, and no support. Yet the idea refused to leave her mind. From that day forward, Emily worked tirelessly with a single focus. She saved every dollar she could, cutting back on small luxuries like coffee or new clothes. She volunteered to learn baking from Mrs. Jenkins, an elderly neighbor who was once a professional pastry chef. In exchange for helping with chores, Emily learned recipes, techniques, and secrets of the trade. Slowly, the girl everyone called useless began building the foundation of something far greater. Still, the voices of doubt never left her. Co-workers laughed when they overheard her talking about starting her own bakery. Emily, running a business, she can't even carry a tray without dropping it. Even Turner sneered. If you ever run a business, I'll eat my own shoes. Emily didn't respond. She simply smiled to herself, because now she had a vision. And for the first time in her life, that vision was stronger than the noise around her. What no one realized was that the girl they dismissed as useless was quietly preparing for a transformation that would not only silence her critics, but put her in a position of power they could never imagine. And soon, the day of reckoning would come. Emily's journey from a small-town waitress to a business owner wasn't easy. It wasn't just about saving enough money. It was about learning how to survive on her own, developing a thick skin, and building her self-confidence. With each passing day, Emily felt closer to the dream she had once believed was unattainable. One morning, after years of scrimping and saving, Emily managed to sign a lease for the bakery she had always dreamed of. It wasn't much, small, a bit rundown, but it had potential. She worked day and night to clean the place up, painting the walls, and fixing the broken fixtures. But the real challenge wasn't the renovation. It was getting the word out. She had no marketing budget, no team, no support system. Just her. She started small. Word of mouth spread, and the few customers who visited liked her pastries. She personally delivered treats to local cafes, offered free samples to potential clients, and connected with nearby businesses. Slowly, the bakery became known for its delicious baked goods and warm atmosphere. But even then, it wasn't enough to guarantee success. Emily knew she had to do more. She needed something bigger. She needed her business to stand out. As months passed, Emily continued to face roadblocks. There were days when she couldn't pay her employees on time, weeks when her sales were low, and moments when she doubted herself. But every time she felt defeated, she reminded herself of the goal she had set long ago, to prove everyone wrong. One evening, after a particularly tough day, Emily sat in the back of the bakery, exhausted. She thought about giving up. Maybe this wasn't her path. Maybe she wasn't cut out for this after all. Then, she looked up and saw a framed photo of her younger self, the girl who had promised to never give up, no matter how hard life got. Emily pushed herself up from the table, wiped the tears from her face, and took action. She reached out to a mentor in the industry, a former bakery owner who had successfully scaled her business. The mentor agreed to help her with advice and connections, teaching Emily valuable lessons on pricing, marketing, and expansion. With new strategies and ideas in hand, Emily was ready to take her business to the next level. As Emily's business grew, so did her reputation. What started as a tiny bakery transformed into a full-fledged brand. She expanded to multiple locations, hired a team of skilled bakers, and began offering catering services for events and businesses. Her pastries were now being sold in high-end stores and cafes across the city. With each success, Emily's confidence grew, and so did her recognition in the industry. Local magazines featured her story. Food bloggers raved about her delicious creations. People started to look up to her, and even her harshest critics couldn't deny her success. But the real victory came when her mother, who had once discouraged her from pursuing her dreams, came to visit one of her bakeries. "I never thought you'd make it," her mother admitted quietly, tears in her eyes. "But I was wrong. You've built something amazing." For Emily, it wasn't about the validation. It was about proving to herself that she could rise above the doubt and expectations of others. She had become a force to be reckoned with. Years later, Emily stood in her spacious office, overlooking the city skyline, the sound of her bustling bakery empire filling the background. Her mother, now a regular customer at one of her shops, smiled at her with pride. Yet, Emily knew that her victory was not about revenge. It was about personal growth, independence, and proving her worth. One evening, her old boss, Mr. Turner, walked into her flagship bakery. He looked around in awe, his face a mixture of disbelief and regret. "Emily," he started, I never thought you'd make it." She looked him straight in the eye and replied with a calm, knowing smile. "Sometimes, the most useless people are the ones who end up changing the world."